The internet is something we use every day, from research to entertainment. Anyone young and old have a reason to utilize this extremely revolutionary piece of technology. Most of you, though, I'm sure, are aware that the websites you and I use every day are barely the surface of what makes up the entirety of the internet. As we browse YouTube, deep below us, sinister things are awry. Today, we will be diving to the deepest depths to share a little piece of the dark side. Welcome to the rabbit hole known as the Cult of Saturn.
On July 6, 2015, a woman named Tara Arasho posted a blog claiming that she had been a member of a cult. Over a few years, Tara would update her blog to share more experiences. Her post can be summarized as this. She met a man named Christian who she came to form a relationship with. He would talk a lot about how human affairs and experiences were linked to the planets and stars. More specifically, he explained that every culture had a link with Saturn as a symbol of death. Christian would be her introduction into what we now know as the Cult of Saturn.
Tara included pictures of parties she was invited to that were affiliated with the cult. This blog would be shared too with someone known as Richard, who helped Tara create a coherent timeline of the events explained in the blog. Below the images, Richard would delve into an urban legend that at the time, as Tara's interactions with the cult ran rapid in London. This urban legend goes that you can email a man named Frank that goes under false prophet at live.com.au. This email was first found on a job listing site.
The job described was vague at best. Quote, idle hands for a mysterious job, unquote. The listing as well described a new magazine called The False Prophet that was looking to hire creative people. People who interacted with the email would later describe strange experiences. To keep it short, people described cryptic messages and interactions between different applicants.
At some point, these rumors were linked to the film Donnie Darko, which is infamous for its symbolism and theories. This connection was found through the website dedicated to the film. On the website you can find this message. To get to level 3, you must find the Book of Key and Lock. But before we get too far off track, what does this urban legend and rumor have to do with this aforementioned Cult of Saturn? And why is the original blog talking about it as well?
Returning to the original post made by Tara, she described how the cult that she had joined in 2010 would meet a woman named Lucy, who would next introduce her to a man named Frank Webster. Tara described that Lucy was basically worshipping Frank, and was the first to bring the Cult of Saturn to the online world. You can find Lucy online through 4chan. She would regularly spam online message boards to advertise the Cult of Saturn.
Tara explained that the members of the cult were first fun and casual. She described the members being given tasks by Frank to recruit new people into the cult or leave symbols throughout London. Tara in the post explained that no one really took the cult seriously at first except for Lucy and Frank. As the cult became more online focused, the cult would be drastically different by 2012. This happened to be the same time as the urban legends mentioned earlier really gained traction.
Tara would next bring up a website called False Prophet HQ, which seemed to have been the website made for the cult. During 2012, the website gained traction due to a timer counting down to the 21st of December 2012 being implemented. These new tactics were all to gain more members into the Cult of Saturn.
Tara explained that the cult did start as a fun group, but always had an underlying theme of spirituality. Themes include life, Greek mythology, and specifically Saturnalia, the ancient Greek tradition of celebration of the god Saturn. As the cult became more serious, they would begin to occupy abandoned warehouses and have people guarding the doors. The main priorities of the cult as well shifted, and Lucy began creating an ARG, which most people at the time assumed was to promote Frank Webster's work.
This entire thing, of course, was not just a simple ARG. It was actually a group that became a cult and spread online by pretending to be an ARG. We next introduced someone who went by the name of Clay. Clay was as well a member of the cult at the time and would join through the paranormal boards of 4chan. He discovered the cult through Frank, who offered him a job and would send him cryptic messages.
Let's follow the thread of the Book of Lock and Key of Saturn. Online, this title is a very difficult one to follow. During the search for this book, there was one page found that was believed to be from this book. This page also refers to the book as the Book of Loki and the Book of Lucifer. To this day, the book is still a mystery. Clay would next get into contact with someone known as Rabbit, who would give him details about the book being real. He as well got into contact with a user known as Lone, who claimed that the cult gave him a key-shaped flash drive.
On the drive were 3 archived political threads, which Lone described as nonsense. Lone would email the contents of the drive to Clay, who in turn showed it to Frank, who seemed agitated but quickly left after realizing that Clay knows nothing about it. Other than the flash drive, Lone would regularly attempt to prove the existence of the original Idle Hands ad that was mentioned earlier. Rumors go that this user would suddenly stop posting online after attempting to investigate into the cult of Saturn.
Returning to the book, there was a thread that holds a supposed key related to the book. The key was filled with riddles and other messages. From the information we know online, there were 5 keys that at one point in time could be solved, which would lead you to 2 missing keys that were known as Stairway to Heaven and You Were in Hell. Virtually all information about these keys except for the first one are lost today. This thread mentioned is the only information about the Book of Lock and Key that is available online today.
During 2013, the cult of Saturn would disappear almost completely after a group that called themselves the Cult of Mars would pop up in opposition to them. It wasn't a real cult, but a group of people that would mess with the group. The Cult of Mars seemed to be the final nail in the coffin for the cult.
What happened after the Cult of Saturn disappeared in 2013? This is where it gets interesting, because we are returning to a topic back in Season 3, Worlds.com. There are archives on 4chan where users claim to speak with Nexialist, the famous figure of Worlds in search of something called a White Rabbit. White Rabbit being something from the ARG created by the Cult of Saturn.
Nexialist would send a location to those who messaged him about it, which would bring them to a room which was quite interesting. It was now apparent that the Cult of Saturn owned rooms on Worlds.com. Clay would return on 4chan to apparently give the location of the cult now on Worlds. Clay would explain the cult did post an image which apparently included an image of the Book of Lock and Key and the name of Nexialist. He would encourage other users to message him in an attempt to get the book they'd been searching for so long. Maybe this is where the theory of Worlds.com being a cult actually comes from.
Threads describing Worlds as a cult began popping up at this time, explaining where these rumors came from. This, of course, was all a joke. It is still interesting that the Cult of Saturn apparently did move to Worlds during its lowest point of popularity, almost as if it was a last-ditch effort to find popularity again. YouTuber Eudoxia Mysteries would take it upon himself to investigate Worlds and ask about the Cult of Saturn and the Book of Key and Lock of Saturn.
He was able to meet 2 users, Temina and Slonderman, who both remembered the hype surrounding the Cult of Saturn. They both were active online while the cult was at its most popular. Temina claimed that she was a member of the cult during 2011, and explained that the cult was used by Frank to promote his magazine called False Prophet.
Temina would show off Frank's DeviantArt and YouTube channel, which were both last active back in 2016. It seems at least, though, with the information found through first-hand sources that the Cult of Saturn in reality was a group led by a man who wanted to use others for his own paper. The group would develop into a cult and ultimately backfire, being too big for the creator to handle and finding criticism from 4chan and other websites at the height of its popularity. As for the Book of Key and Lock, more likely than not a faked idea made up by the cult to drum up interest.
This is one rabbit hole for the ages. From 2009 to 2013, the Cult of Saturn was able to catch the interest of hundreds and lead people through a massive ARG that boiled down to one man that thought he could lead a group of people to do what he wanted with vague riddles and prizes.
There was also possible drug use that would explain why so many people were so enthusiastic to be involved and probably actually believed what they were being told was true. At the end of the day, the cult is gone and forgotten by the majority of the internet. Another headstone to the strange world we navigate every day. Most of us are not even thinking about what could be lurking under us. Who knows? Maybe there's something similar on the rise that we're just not aware of yet.
Point of today's story? Don't do drugs and follow weirdos on the internet who will use you as free labor to write articles for their newsletter. Stay curious.
Join us again next time when we once again go obscure.